Hi everyone, and welcome to our AGT trial site here at FarmLink at Temora. I'm James Whiteley from AGT. Today I'm just going to take you through a bit of a virtual look at our trial site, some information around it, and how this trial site works in with our other network of satellite trial sites and then ties back in to our major AGT research farm breeding site at Kabinga at Collingully. After that, we might have a quick walk through the trial and we'll just target a couple of new releases for this year that we've named and released this spring, ready to go out on farm and be grown next year in 2022. So a bit more on this trial site. There's a bit over 7 hectares of trials here behind me. And across that 7 hectares, we've got 17 separate individual trials that make up this big trial site, and that equates to over 3,000 plots. So quite a big site here. And is really integral to what we do as a company in terms of, I guess, our R&D and our breeding. Having a lot of these sites, particularly managed out of our Wagga breeding node through southern New South Wales, to really drill down and get a lot of data on terms of our breeding program and lines coming through the program, their adaptability and their suitability and how they perform across different soil types and different regions, particularly focusing on southern New South Wales for us out of Wagga. So, I guess the major thing with this trial at the moment, it's been quite a wet year. We do have a bit of water logging through here, but with the warmer weather that we've experienced lately, it's really starting to come back now and start to compensate and fill in quite well. So in terms of this trial, across those 17 individual trials within it, we've got things from early generation breeding, so real nitty-gritty breeding trials, early generation stuff, all the way through to our late generation evaluation of lines that are getting to the pointy end of the program and looking at coming out the pipeline in the near future. So really evaluating a large range of material, and that ranges from winter wheats, dual purpose wheats, so early sowing, front end of April sowing trials, through to slow spring wheat, so that late April, mid-April type window, and then our main season wheats in May as well. So big transect of varieties, a big transect of lines and places in the breeding program. So a lot happening behind here as well. On top of that, we've got some grain quality trials where we're running trials to evaluate the quality in some of our lines, and also some herbicide tolerance trials as well. So again, quite a nice sized site and really integral to what we do in terms of building a picture for southern New South Wales, how our germplasm and how our varieties perform, particularly through this region. The guys at Wagga, we've got a great team at Wagga. All our cereal sites in southern New South Wales, including our base research site at Kabinga, is all managed and run by our team at Wagga. So that's site selection, sowing, all trial management through to harvest, the whole show managed in-house. So that takes a lot of resource in terms of professionals to do that, but also a lot of plan, a lot of equipment that takes a lot of time, a lot of money. If you look at a site like this, 7 hectares doesn't sound much, but 3,000 plots, scoring them for things like disease, maturity, taking them through to yield. There is a lot of work involved, takes a lot of manpower and takes a lot of investment as well. So, you know, this is just one of our satellite sites, plus our major site at Kabinga, so a lot of work going on here. We might move through the trial now and have a look at a couple of newer lines. Okay, so the first cab off the rank in terms of these new varieties we're looking at today is Calibre. So Calibre is being derived from Scepter, so bred from Scepter, and it's come through AGT as a Scepter replacement. So I guess with most things you really need to have some traits and particularly some yield to replace a variety, something like Scepter that's been very popular throughout all sort of growing regions as well. Calibre has come through, the main tick being yield. So quite a higher yield profile than Scepter, but maintaining those traits that make Scepter a very popular variety and a very adaptable variety. So AH quality, very good adaptation, particularly to southern New South Wales soils and different soil types, and then having that yellow leaf spot resistance and also a good grain package that can handle both good and tough seasons. So Calibre available next year. One thing I will say, with people growing Scepter in southern New South Wales who have had success and know how to grow Scepter, the next logical step for them is probably Calibre. As I said, a lot of similar traits, but with a higher yield potential. In terms of stripe rust, there is an incremental increase with Calibre compared to Scepter, but to an MS level. So there is still going to need to be some management in terms of managing a variety like this through the season, in particular in high pressure situations like we're seeing this year as well. Calibre has improved powdery mildew over Scepter as well, and it's also got quite a long coleoptile, so a lot longer than most of the varieties that we're growing in the region at the moment. So in terms of preem separation, you know, targeting depth with sowing, that type of stuff, that's a trait that can be handy in those situations. Again, new variety this year, for people in southern New South Wales who are growing Scepter and like that type, Calibre certainly one to keep an eye on. And this is our second variety release for this year, Boree. So Boree's been quite an exciting one from, I guess, the southern New South Wales point of view. This variety's come through our program at Wagga. We've been keeping a pretty close eye on it over the last few years, mainly for its yield potential. It's really shown quite good yield potential across southern New South Wales, across a lot of our sites where we've got varying soil issues and different environments, and it's been really in the top of the pack and standing out quite well. It's a main season variety, so similar maturity to Beckham, so it fits that main season window, but it's the yield potential for mine that really sets it apart. So higher yielding than Beckham and Scepter, I guess the two main main season yield benchmarks. So we're seeing a good yield improvement there, but in an APH quality variety. So Boree's prime hard classified, and that combined with that yield kick makes it quite an exciting variety, particularly for southern New South Wales. In terms of its agronomic traits, quite good yellow leaf spot resistance, so really well suited to wheat on wheat situations or high stubble load situations where there's a lot of cereal stubble within your rotation. And also from a stripe rust point of view, which is pretty topical this year, sitting at an MRMS rating, provisional rating, to the main pathotypes that we experience here in southern New South Wales. So it ticks quite a lot of boxes there. As I said, very adaptable to our soils around southern New South Wales. Quite a nice compact plant type, medium height, good straw strength. So in terms of lodging, quite a low risk variety in that respect as well. So for mine, solid disease package, very high yield potential and APH quality. Certainly one for people in southern New South Wales to keep an eye on the data coming through again this year. And yeah, keep an eye on it because it would have quite a nice fit throughout a lot of farms in southern New South Wales in that main season window. We also have two new barley releases this year, two varieties really well suited for southern New South Wales. Unfortunately, we don't have a barley trial here at Temora, so I'm just going to talk to these here now. So yeah, I mean, we're fairly new, I guess, in the barley space in terms of releasing varieties, but we've been doing a lot of R&D and breeding for quite a while now. So it's really good to see these varieties starting to come to the surface and become commercial now. In terms of southern New South Wales and adaptation, we've got two high-performing varieties here. We've got Cyclops for that low to medium rainfall type environment, and we've also got Minotaur, which is more for that sort of high yield potential, medium to high rainfall zone. So starting with Cyclops, Cyclops has really been setting a new yield benchmark in terms of yield stability, so performing very well, particularly across that low to medium type rainfall environment. Very high yielding. In terms of maturity, a quick to mid, a couple of days longer than Spartacus, a couple of days slower than Spartacus, and also having that high marsh plant type, so that erect plant type, shorter type compact structure, and less lodging risk, I guess, compared to your taller type varieties. So very high yielding, you know, into that main season, I guess, barley space where you'd be planting your Latrobes, your Spartacuses, performing really well. So certainly one to keep an eye on. In terms of its quality, we're releasing it as a feed variety, but it has entered into Barley Australia Malt Accreditation Program. So it is undergoing malt evaluation, but for now, we're releasing it as a feed variety. Minotaur, on the other hand, as I said, suited to that medium to higher rainfall zone. And I guess Minotaur's quite a good one. I think it's a cross between European and Australian germplasm. So that's the cross. So I think what you get with that is you get that really high yield potential in very high yielding environments, similar to what you see with Planet. So you're seeing Minotaur very similar in terms of that yield potential. But what you're seeing from the Australian side of the genetics is just a bit of a tougher variety, ability to maintain some yield potential and not drop off as quickly as some European types can when you get into those average years and particularly below average years as well. So quite a stable yielding thing in terms of having that top end yield potential, but also as you come down through that average and tougher type environment, still performing quite well. In terms of a grain package, quite a nice grain package when compared to Planet. It's got higher test weight, lower screenings and higher retention. So quite a nice grain package in behind it. And again, like Cyclops, Minotaur is being released as a feed variety, but has entered the Barley Australia Malt Accreditation Program as well. So two varieties that's, I guess, cover off on both ends of the spectrum for southern New South Wales barley growers. one for the medium to low rainfall area in Cyclops and one for those medium to higher yield potential type environments in Minotaur. So that about covers off on us for new varieties and new releases for this year. Thanks for taking the time to listen today. It's been good to show you through the trial and touch on a few new varieties. Thanks to FarmLink as well for making this possible. And it's been a tough year with everything going on with COVID, but I think a virtual field day is quite a nice thing to have, particularly for our environment. Hopefully we get back to face-to-face soon, and next year we're doing this all face-to-face. So until then, stay safe. Thank you.